Welcome to the second episode of the NFL Mock Draft Show, where we discuss the prospects selected in the latest 2022 NFL Mock Draft on si.com/NFL/draft, where you can find every single Monday morning on the site. So make sure you check that out every single Monday morning, the latest 2022 NFL Mock Draft. This latest one was done by one of our lead scouts, Jack Borowski, who did a fantastic job. I love what I saw from a lot of these. So we're going to dive into a few of them. But first, I'm your host, Zach Patra. You can find me on all the social media platforms at NFL_Zach. Be sure to head over to Sports Illustrated to find all of our latest and greatest content, again, on si.com/NFL/draft. Before we jump into it, be sure you give the show a 5-star rating and a comment. Let us know how we're doing, whether you like it, dislike it. Let's hear your thoughts. We don't mind a little constructive criticism here. So be sure to do that before you start listening. But we're going to dive in right away. 5 guys we're going to dive into. Okay. The first one's going to be Trevor Penning, who went pretty early. I love to see it. My smaller school guys, I love to see how early Trevor Penning went. Then we're going to talk about Lewis Sine, the Georgia defensive back. I hope I said his name right. I am terrible with names. I apologize in advance. The Nevada quarterback Carson Strong, who, he was talked about as a first overall pick for quite some time. So it's going to be interesting to see where he goes in this mock draft, where he actually goes in the NFL draft. Lots to sort out here. We're going to be doing it all through the offseason. We started it last week. This is the second show, so we're going to be doing a lot more of these. I'm excited to get into them here. The last two we're going to talk about, 2 Cincinnati guys. Linebacker Darian Beavers, who's had a great career in Cincinnati, as well as Alec Pierce, their wide receiver, who quietly has made a name for himself. Not a lot of people were talking about him right off the get-go, but we're starting to see a lot more of him. We saw a lot more of him during the season. Great player, excited to talk about him. And if we got some time, we'll throw in a few more for you, kind of like we did last week. So the first one, as I said, Northern Iowa's offensive tackle Trevor Penning went number 5 to the Carolina Panthers. Is it early? Yes. Do I love it? Absolutely. Like I said, small school kid. He wasn't a guy who played a lot of big school, big guys. The big name guys. Didn't see that a lot from you and I, Trevor Penning, those guys. But a lot of tools when it comes to this offensive tackle. He's going to need time to develop and adapt to the NFL. But he might be the best prospect you and I's ever had, in my opinion. This guy is extremely athletic, great size. 6'7", 329, and can move. Tremendous movement skills, pulling, lead blocking. Love how he gets to the second level and continues to create space for his running back. And then just a great pass blocker overall. Like I said, there's still a lot to develop, but there's a ton there. And when you look at offensive tackles like this, especially the smaller school guys, you're going to have to try to develop these guys one step at a time when it comes to the NFL at the NFL level. You look at Spencer Brown, who came out of UNI as well. He's starting for the Buffalo Bills, kind of playing all over the offensive line, right tackle. I think he started left tackle this week. So it's great to see. A lot of these smaller school kids starting to come up and make a name for themselves. And Trevor Penning's the next one here. He gets into space and he does a great job performing hinge blocks, reach blocks. It's fantastic to see. I love to see him out in space like that. And then when he gets in his pass sets, he does a good job at mirroring and using his hands. He's got loose hips, can reset his base in tight spaces. And again, just extremely, extremely athletic. And when you look at the Panthers, their offensive line as a whole, you look at PFF, and they ranked 31st in offensive line grades. Now, Taylor Motton is the highest at 73.9, but that's the lowest he's been in the past 4 years. They need to get better offensive linemen. They need to get a better tackle. Whoever their quarterback is, whether it's Cam Newton, Sam Darnold, who knows? Maybe they take a quarterback in the second round of this mock draft, if it ever came to it. Maybe they take a quarterback and you got to protect that guy. But again, you got to get better on the offensive line. Got to get better at the tackle position. Protect your quarterback. Open up some running lanes for your running backs, whether it's CMC next year or it's Chuba Hubbard for the future, whoever it is. We got to get better protection for these guys, better rush lanes. There's a lot that they need to work on in Carolina. Starting with Trevor Penning is is a good spot to be in my opinion. That's going to do it for the first one. Let's go to the second pick we want to talk about. Now, it's Monday while I'm recording this. If you know me, you know I'm a Vikings fan, and they play tonight, so I got to get a little hyped up for the Vikings here. And they pick at number 12 here. A little bit of a questionable pick in my mind here. A little bit. Lewis Stein, the defensive back for Georgia. Not saying I don't like the player. I think he's a pretty good player. This guy's a good prospect. But I got to talk about my Vikings taking a safety here. Do they need a safety? Yes. Harrison Smith is getting up there in age, but he's still performing at a high level. Xavier Woods has been good. And then Cam Bynum, the rookie safety, who was a cornerback at Cal. He's a rookie this year, has played really well when he's in the game. I would say Bynum's been just as good as Woods. And the Vikings, should they take a safety at 12? In my opinion, no. I think they have a lot of other needs they need to fill. They do need a defensive back. I want to see them go corner in the first round. Have they had the best of luck with first-round corners lately? Not really. Jeff Gladney out of TCU, Mike Hughes, both aren't on the team anymore for different reasons. But they need a cornerback. Can Sign fill the hole that they have there? Possibly. He projects more as a strong safety. So maybe you got your nickel guy. Maybe you bring Patrick Peterson back for another year, and he fills the hole we need. But looking at it right now, I would say that you got a guy who has a lot of versatility. He can play cover two, plays a lot of cover two. He's a long safety and plays cover two, which the Vikings play enough of. And he's got good range. Roaming from single high isn't going to be a problem if you ask him to do so, which I think the Vikings should probably do a little bit more of. So maybe he can help out in that aspect. Let Harrison Smith play down in the box a little bit more. Maybe put Cam Bynum in coverage and Xavier Woods somewhere as well. So there's a lot of things you could do if Lewis Stein is drafted by the Vikings at 12 here. I love the way he comes downhill. He's very quick and he trusts his eyes. He's very instinctive and does a good job at that. A couple concerns I have, though. He's a guy that tackles a little bit too high. Can be a little bit over-aggressive and doesn't have the ball production that you like to see out of defensive backs when you drafted them inside the top 15, which is where he lands in this 2022 NFL mock draft. Now, can that be fixed? Absolutely. Especially when it comes to the tackling, kind of getting that technique down a little bit better. But one thing that's a little bit harder to get out of the head of a defensive back is getting manipulated in pass coverage, really having eye discipline and not just following the quarterback's eyes, being able to understand the play that's in front of you, let it develop, and being able to react. Like I said, he comes downhill very, very quickly and does a tremendous job at that. But he does get manipulated in pass coverage by quarterbacks. And like I said, he's likely a strong safety. Do the Vikings need him? Not necessarily. I would have probably went with a different pick here, like a cornerback, maybe even defensive end. They could definitely use some help in pass rush. So questionable pick in my opinion, but I like the player. I do think there's a vital role that he can fill on a defense. I just don't know if that's what the Vikings want to do going forward here. And I spent a lot of time talking about the Vikings. I know, being a Vikings fan, it's what I got to do. I'm sorry. But so we're going to move on here. We're going to go to the Broncos, who picked number 15. And I mentioned his name already. He was talked about as a potential first overall pick. I think he's kind of slid down now a little bit. Like guys like Matt Corral stepping up, Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis has had a great season by all accounts. So Carson Strong going number 15 to the Broncos, the Nevada quarterback. Interesting pick. Denver definitely needs a quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater just went down with a gruesome look at concussion. I hate to see it. And again, being a Vikings fan, we went through a lot with Teddy Bridgewater and the knee injury. He dealt with concussions in Minnesota as well. Picks up another one, and I hate to see it for him. He wasn't having a great year, but he was having a pretty decent year. And Teddy Bridgewater is a great guy, so I like to see him have a decent career in the NFL. It's just he's piling up injuries, so you're going to have to get another quarterback. Then you look at Drew Locke, who they took in the second round of 2019 draft, I believe is what it was. I can't remember. They all start blending together after a while. But he's a strong arm quarterback, kind of like Drew Locke was coming out of college. But Carson Strong arm. Man, I'm going to get that mixed up throughout the whole entire draft season. Has a strong arm. Big frame, or a solid frame, I should say. It's not a big frame; it's a solid frame. 6'3", which is above average height for a quarterback. That weighs 215 pounds with room to add good weight. I really want to see him get into an NFL weight room, pack on some pounds, and kind of exploit defenses in a similar way that Josh Allen does. Now, he's not as athletic as Josh Allen, but Josh Allen has a very strong arm. It can be a little questionable with his accuracy, kind of like Carson Strong, but an underrated athlete. Now, I think Josh Allen is a much better athlete than Carson Strong is, but Carson Strong is definitely an underrated athlete that can make plays with his legs. Now, talking about his mechanics, his ability to make throws. He's a guy that he's patient, waits for the play to develop. You love to see that out of a young quarterback, someone that can, take time, read a defense, decipher what's happening in front of him, and make the correct read. He'll go through progressions, and he'll get to his guy. And what I love about him, doesn't happen all the time. Okay, I will say there are times where his cleats are not in the ground, and you like to see that with a quarterback. That's how you remain accurate, you get these tight window throws and everything like that. And for most accounts, he does. He keeps his feet in the ground, and he'll make a strong throw into a tight window. And it's a wow play is what it is. You'll be like, holy smokes, how did he fit that in there? And it goes for a big play, lets his receivers make a play, gets the ball in their hands. It's great to see. And what I love is it's decisive. He's not double clutching. He's not, oh crap, where am I going now? It's decisive. He knows what he sees and he goes for it. And I love to see that out of him. And when you look at his throwing motion, it's smooth. You don't get a lot of hitches in the rotation. You love to see that because a lot of times you'll see some of these quarterbacks try to make something that kind of work with what they got. It's not really going to work at the next level, but I think Strong has exactly what it takes there. You can talk about a strong arm too. He puts air underneath that ball for his wide receivers to run under, and it's great. Romeo Dubes out there in Nevada, who's going to be another highly touted wide receiver, probably going to be a day 2, maybe early day 3 guy. He's allowed him to make some big plays. There's other wide receivers at Nevada that he'll put the ball up and let the receiver run under it and make a play. But there's some concerns. I will say there are underthrows on his deep ball. All this talk about a strong arm, putting air under it for the wide receiver to run under it. There are some underthrown deep balls that the wide receiver has to come back, gets into a little contact. The ball's could be intercepted. Maybe the wide receiver's got to make a play so the corner doesn't make an interception. But there are those on film, and it's got to be a little bit more consistent. And no, going back to being a Vikings fan, sorry for doing this for the whole entire show, but you look at Kirk Cousins and his ball protection in the pocket. He's got a little bit better. Kirk Cousins has, but Strong has not gotten much better at it. There's some fumbling issues. I would like to see him kind of learn how to feel the pocket a little bit better, move around, slide around, and when he's got someone, excuse me, when he's got someone coming to his backside, feel that, protect the ball, either throw it away, make a play with your legs, or get down and make sure you have the ball in your hands. So that's what I'm a little bit concerned when it comes to Carson Strong. But we talked about Teddy getting hurt and the lack of confidence that Denver has in Drew Locke. They got to get a quarterback. I don't hate this pick at all. At pick number 15, I think you got to do it, especially with the questionable quarterback class that we have. I think it's a smart move to go Carson Strong here. Now, we're down to our final 2, and we're talking about 2 Cincinnati players. And one guy that I like a lot, that I know Jack Borowski likes a lot, who did this mock draft. He also did a hot take on Darian Beavers. It was about how Xavier Collins, the linebacker who now plays for Arizona Cardinals, kind of came out of nowhere and was a first-round pick. Darian Beavers could be that similar type of player where he's not talked about a lot, but then all of a sudden draft starts rolling around, and he's a guy that's projected to be a first-round pick and goes decently high in the first round. Now, the Patriots are taking him here at 24. New England's a pretty complete roster, a pretty good O-line. The defense is solid. I would have liked to see them go with like a wide receiver to help out their quarterback, Mac Jones, who could be the offensive rookie of the year. He's having an outstanding year. I don't think a lot of people were really projecting him to be as good as he's been. You look at Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. You name the other rookie quarterbacks, Justin Fields, they're struggling this year. But Mac Jones, he's not. Alabama and Nick Saban out there got him ready for this moment, him being in the NFL and being a big-time player for the Patriots, who, they could get the 1 seed here. I mean, they're a team that's definitely destined for a deep run in the playoffs with a rookie quarterback, which is fantastic to see. Now, I don't hate the pick. I don't hate Darian Beavers going 24 here, because you kind of look at how if they keep their roster how it is now, especially at the linebacker spot, it's probably going to be Darian's probably going to be more of a third down guy, kind of behind Hightower to start his career. Maybe rotate in with Bentley and Van Noy, but I think he's more of that middle linebacker. But let's talk about how and why he fits that type of way here. He's a big linebacker, 6'4", 255. His size and his talent and his type of skill set should translate well as a Sam or Mike backer. So I could see him playing a couple different roles, kind of figuring out where he best fits when training camp rolls around, preseason, a few games into the regular season. I think this is going to be a guy that's kind of playing Sam, Mike, a little bit all over as an off-ball linebacker, which you love to see. You love a little versatility when it comes to linebackers there. And you look at him in coverage, great spatial awareness in coverage. He reacts, he reads the quarterback's eyes, and he'll react really, really quickly, really well, which you like to see. And when you look at his run defending, navigates the box really well, great instincts, and is patient. He knows when to and when not to fire into gaps and make a play. He'll manipulate the ball carrier's path, which can be very dangerous as a linebacker, especially if you got a zone running back that's either looking to bang it inside or bounce it outside. You got a guy that can play like he's in the B gap and then take away that A gap that he's trying to bang into. So it's fun to watch when it comes to his eye discipline, his patience in the run game, and the experience that he has. The experience that he has is exciting, because this is a guy. Is there going to be development? Of course, there's going to be development, but he's a guy that's going to be ready to rock and roll day one. I see him, as someone that contributes right away. Probably not as a full-time guy, but a guy that's going to rotate in and be able to could contribute right away, which you just love to see. Now, a few concerns. Like I said, bigger guy. He's athletic, but he's a stiffer athlete. Like he's not overly athletic like an Isaiah Simmons that we saw coming out of Clemson, who's at Arizona, Zaven Collins, Jamin Davis, like all these guys that were, athletic, moved extremely well. Beavers is not that type of guy. Now, when you look at him in coverage, he can lose his landmark in coverage, allows some open windows, and can bite on some routes that leave him a little flat-footed. And it's not easy for him to kind of twist, turn, and get those hips going and get up to full speed right away. It takes a little bit of time. So that's going to be an area of concern when you talk about him in pass coverage on third down. But when you look at him on in run stopping, he's a guy that's going to excel a lot, but also does a lot of good things in coverage. So just a few things to work out there, get some agility down, get a little bit more flexation in the lower body, and I think you're going to find a linebacker that does exactly what you're looking for, and you're going to see him be in the NFL for quite some time. The other thing I want to talk about, I can't leave this out because it's odd to me when you get these big, strong looking linebackers, and they're inconsistent with how much they play with that strength, with how much they play with that power. So I'd like to see him be a little bit more consistent with that, use that big boy body, use that big boy strength, and really take on these blockers, take on these tight ends over the middle, and beat them, because I know he can do it. So a few things to work on, but overall, a very good pick here. Now, last guy, and we are getting down to it. I want to talk about the last Cincinnati prospect that we're going to talk about today. The last prospect we're going to talk about all day. Maybe we might get into a few more. We'll see. But anyway, Alec Pierce, the Cincinnati wide receiver, goes to the Green Bay Packers at 31. And now everyone can just relax about the Packers not taking a wide receiver in the first round for like the last however long. Now, Alec Pierce, a little bit of an unknown compared to other guys like Garrett Wilson, John Mechie, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, a lot of these guys. So Alec Pierce isn't really mentioned in the mix with those guys, but he should be. This has been a guy who has been outstanding for Cincinnati at the program, been their top pass catcher. He's a big frame. He's got a big frame, and a lot of explosiveness, a lot of speed, a lot of, really good hands. Like there's just a lot of things that he does really, really well. Now, are they excellent? No, I wouldn't say they're excellent, but they're really good. They're really, really good. And the fact that you could develop him even more than he already is goes from really good to really great. And if he goes to the Packers at 31, pairing him with Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers if he stays there, and heck, man, if you draft a wide receiver in the first round, maybe Aaron Rodgers stays there. So there's a case to be made there. I think Alec Pierce would pair really well with a guy like Devontae Adams, with a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I also think that he has a little bit of a Jordy Nelson type of vibe to him. A guy who could take the top off of defense, has a good route running ability, good nuances. Look at his release. He uses multiple different releases. I love his jab step. He uses good head, body fakes, and he uses his hands really well in his release, which for younger wide receivers, some of them have a hard time understanding that your hands are huge. It's a key, as well as your feet, in your release and making sure you get separation from the hands of the corner. Make sure he doesn't, reroute you off your release. And he does a really good job at that. So Alec Pierce he's a really good all around wide receiver. I love how he gets on top of the opponent's toes, makes them uncomfortable as soon as it gets to the top of his stem, and he'll break on the ball. I love the deep ball upside that you have of him. He'll get on top of the opponent, stack him well, and then track the ball very, very nicely. Uses that body to kind of shield off defenders, get his hands extended with his long catch radius. You just love to see it there. And then the overall body control that he has when the ball is in the air, being able to go up, kind of take on some contact, catch the ball with his strong hands at the catch point. He's an all-around receiver. You can play him really wherever you want, whether you want him running deep out of the slot or over the middle. You want to put him on the outside, let him take the top off the defense. It doesn't matter what you want him to do there. He's going to be able to do it. Can be a big play threat. I love the fact that he has special teams experience both in college and in high school. You don't get that all the time. A lot of these bigger name receivers, you don't see them playing special teams, and Alec Pierce does. Like there's one extra element to his game that teams can exploit for opposing teams and take advantage of his type of mismatch that he brings. And plus the fact that he has above average speed for his size is great for his size. He's not going to run a 4.3. Could he break into the high 4.4s maybe, but I think he's more that 4.5 guy. But that's pretty good speed for a guy of his size. And, the fact that he still has good burst, good explosion, and a little nuances to, stack the defender and use his arms to his advantage is great. Now, we're going to get to the concerns because there's always a few concerns when you talk about, younger wide receivers. I want to see him use that size a little bit more consistently, mainly when he's blocking. It's a little bit, how do I put it? He doesn't use that big frame, the strength, the length to keep the defender away from his frame. The defender will kind of get inside of his frame, be able to make a move and make a play on the edge. You don't want to see that as often. So we're going to have to get him a little bit more technical blocking. That's what the word I'm looking for. I think that once you get him a little bit sound in that technique while he's blocking, you're going to get a guy that does a good job on the edge and can seal that perimeter for your running backs, especially if you got a zone running back. And then I want to see him use his hands a little bit better throughout his route, not catching the ball, because he does a good job catching the ball. Now you'll see a couple double catches, but I'm not going to dock him too much for that. I want to see him use his hands throughout his route subtly. Don't get pass interference calls on you or nothing like that. But use those hands subtly get in and out of your breaks, kind of shield that defender off with your hands and open up a little bit more separation, get more yards in between you and the defender, make the throws just a little bit easier for your quarterback. Now, when you look at Green Bay, you got Marquez Valdes-Scantling, you got Allen Lazard, a couple of receivers that aren't to that next tier. You got Devontae Adams and then kind of a bunch of guys. Now, they've done a good job, those bunch of guys, but I want to see them get a better wide receiver to pair with Devontae Adams, to pair with Aaron Rodgers. And again, maybe he sticks around, maybe he doesn't, but I do think Alec Pierce will help his quarterback of the future if he's across from Devontae Adams. Having those two guys, I think, just pairs really nicely. We're running a little low on time here. We're about at 25 minutes here, so I'm going to go ahead and end the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it here, but that's going to do it. The second episode is in the books. That's a wrap. Every Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the latest NFL mock draft on the NFL Draft Bible on Sports Illustrated, si.com/NFL/draft. Make sure you go back, check out the rest of the mock draft, see who your favorite team drafted. Let us know what you thought. We would love to hear your thoughts on how these all played out. Make sure you follow the NFL Draft Bible on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at NFL Draft Bible. Make sure you follow the podcast as well. And you can also follow me if you really want to, NFL_Zach on all social medias. And that's gonna be the latest breakdown here for every Tuesday. Every single mock draft is going to be going live Monday mornings. Check it out Monday mornings, and then listen to my show live Tuesday mornings. And we're going to catch you all next week. Be sure, before you go, leave a comment, give the show a 5-star rating. Let us know how we're doing. And check out the rest of this loaded list, this loaded schedule of podcasts that we have going on, whether you love the draft, whether you love fantasy football, dynasty, Debbie. These guys are breaking it down every single day of the week for you guys on the NFL Draft Bible podcast. Thank you for listening.